The scent of freshly baked sponge cake drifted through the warm morning air as Ezra tightened the strings on the crates of pastries he had prepared since dawn. His calloused hands moved with precision, the kind that only came from repetition, dedication, and a kind of silent devotion to the work that sustained him. Every morning for the past 15 years, Ezra had wheeled his small, worn-out wooden cart to the corner of Bellington Avenue and Parkside Street, right outside the grand, mirrored building of Calderon Enterprises. The tower, sleek and dominant in the city skyline, symbolized success and power. Its revolving doors welcomed the world's brightest minds, high-ranking executives, and clients with wealth beyond imagination. Yet, right there on the pavement, a young man with gentle eyes and a humble smile offered slices of joy wrapped in brown parchment paper. Ezra didn't know that behind the glass facade of that company worked people who spoke his name in hushed awe. They marveled at how the young baker never missed a day, rain or shine. He fed the security guards for free, always saved an extra muffin for the receptionist's child, and often gave away cakes to the homeless who drifted by with hollow eyes. His kindness was effortless, quiet, powerful. He never asked for recognition. He never wanted it. He only asked for people to try the pastries his mother once made with the same hands, in the same kitchen, before cancer took her away. But the story was much deeper. Ezra had been found, wrapped in a blanket, on the steps of St. Jude's Orphanage in Philadelphia. A single gold pendant with the initials C hung around his neck. The nuns raised him with love, but even they knew the child had come from a world far removed from theirs. No one ever came searching for him. He grew up, left at 16 to find his way, and carried with him only the pendant and an old photo of a woman who looked nothing like the nuns or the people on the streets. He began baking to survive. A bakery owner, Mrs. Hargrove, had taken pity on him and offered him night shifts. He learned, he practiced, and soon, he became better than any pastry chef she had ever hired. When she passed away, she left him her rolling pin and her faith. Years passed. Unknown to Ezra, inside Calderon Enterprises worked Clarissa Calderon, a sharp, determined CEO who had taken the reins after her father's sudden death. Clarissa was a woman forged by duty, expectations, and immense pressure. But unlike her father, she believed in people, not just profits. One evening, coming out late from a board meeting, she noticed a young man handing a slice of lemon cake to a homeless woman with more tenderness than she had ever seen in the boardroom. It haunted her. She started observing him more. Some days she bought a muffin, other days she simply watched. She noticed how the man refused tips from executives in designer suits, but always smiled at the janitors, the assistants, the people who were often invisible. One day, she stopped him and asked, "Why do you do this, every day?" Ezra looked at her with a quiet sincerity and said, "Because sometimes, cake is the only thing keeping someone going. And kindness doesn't cost more than a spoonful of sugar." The words stayed with her. Compelled by something she didn't fully understand, she ordered an internal investigation, not on the baker, but on the child her father had lost years ago. It had been one of the family's greatest secrets. Her father, Charles Calderon, had an affair in his youth. The woman disappeared, and the baby, his baby, was never found. Only the pendant with the company's initials remained. As the investigation unfolded, it all aligned. The pendant, the location, the dates, and the eyes. Ezra had the same eyes as her father. Clarissa felt her world shift. It took her weeks to approach him. When she finally did, she brought an envelope and a small velvet box. "This was your mother's," she said softly. Ezra looked at her, puzzled. "And this was your father's. He never knew what became of you. But you were never forgotten." He stared at the items, then at her. "What are you saying?" "You're Ezra Calderon, my brother." The revelation hit like a storm. Ezra walked away. He didn't show up at the corner the next morning, nor the next. Clarissa tried everything: calls, messages, even a handwritten letter. But she knew better than to force him into a world he had never asked for. It wasn't until a week later that Ezra returned, not to sell, but to give. He set up his cart with only one cake, a large sheet cake decorated with the words, "Thank you for letting me be me." He passed out slices, hugged his usual visitors, and when Clarissa arrived, he handed her the last piece. "I'm not angry," he said, "but I can't be someone I don't know. I built this life myself." She nodded. "Then let me walk with you in the one you built. Not because you're a Calderon, but because you're the best person I've ever met." Over the next months, the bond between them grew. Ezra refused a title, a fortune, or a penthouse. But he did agree to open a community bakery funded quietly by Calderon Enterprises. He hired veterans, young teens from group homes, and former convicts looking for a second chance. His cakes reached places no product from the 60th floor ever could. Hospitals, shelters, schools, everywhere there was hurt, Ezra brought healing. At the grand opening of his second location, Clarissa stood beside him, teary-eyed. "Do you ever regret not coming into the company?" she asked. Ezra looked around at the children laughing, the elders sharing stories over coffee, the smell of cinnamon and hope in the air. "Not for a second," he said. "I was already rich in all the ways that matter." And for the first time in years, Clarissa believed it too. Because in a world often driven by ambition and greed, it was the boy with the cake cart who reminded them all that kindness, selflessness, and humanity were still the sweetest things of all. The story has been completed with emotional depth, relatable characters, and a powerful message about kindness and identity. Would you like help formatting it for publishing or creating a shorter version for social media?